So how you doing? We're working on the 3270 again. Yep, this is a never-ending process, isn't it? But I might have found the issue. So let me show you what I just did. Alrighty. Alrighty, so there it is. Let me just go over everything that I've done here. Up here's a switch. I pulled it apart, cleaned up the contacts. That was the first thing I did. That eliminated the static charge feeling. So on the grip here, when I was holding it, it kind of gave me like a static charge feeling. That eliminated that issue. But also down here at the coil, this wire, you see where this screw is? This wire was partially unplugged. So I cleaned up, or I kind of smashed these in a little better and put it on as far as I could. So I did those two things at the same time. I don't know which one would have caused it, but I think it was the switch itself because of how dirty the contacts were. But it could have been this also. Now, after that, I put in a different plug. I don't have a brand new plug, so I just stuck a used one in, so you really don't know whenever you got a used one, but it had the wrong size plug in it. I put in the right size, and the saw definitely performed with more power. So this is what I did today. I pulled the flywheel off, the coil off. I kind of went over all the wires. I could not see any issues, so I kind of put it all back together. But right here is where I think our problem was. This wire right here is the ground wire, and they had it running to this screw. I didn't like that. They didn't clean up the backside to make sure we had good contact. It was still kind of painted there. So, that, and I don't like the fact that you got to run your ground through the device. You know what I mean? I didn't like that idea. So I pulled the ground wire off, got it down here, back in behind here, and it is running into one of the screws that mount the original point setup. And as soon as I did that, I noticed a difference at my spark. I think we might have figured out the issue, but you never know. That could not be it. It could still just be an intermittent spark issue, but I have a feeling it was just having it grounded through the module was our issue. I got a feeling. If you read the directions, I believe they don't even tell you to do that. They tell you to ground it elsewhere. Otherwise, why would there be a terminal here for a ground wire? You know what I mean? If you could ground it through the device, wouldn't they just go ahead and do it internally? You know what I mean? Why would they put the extra ground wire? So I ran the wire underneath and put it through one of the other screws. Now I'm going to put her together and we'll see what happens. We're back together, we're going to run it, see what happens. Hopefully it takes off this time, Now this chain, there's nothing left to it. I need to get a new chain. I can probably sharpen it up, but I'm not going to be able to sharpen it aggressively because I don't think there's enough meat left to the tooth to handle, to handle it. So now, I'm having a problem with the bar and chain. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So this is the mall bar that I was running with the safety chain on it. So I ran into an issue with this part. It's too big from this distance. The Archer bar, which is hanging over here, see it? Problem there is my chain's shot, and I'm not gonna be able to sharpen it up the way I need to in order, to really test the saw. So what I'm doing with Sugihara, okay? Everything seems to line up pretty good. I'm gonna have to put a slot, down through into this hole in order to get my bar oil, but that's pretty standard. But as you see, the only chain I got to fit this thing is this safety chain. That's all I got. I got like 6 of these things. So I think in order to get this thing a proper test, I'm gonna have to grind every one of these guys and every one of these guys off the whole way around the chain. That's the only way I can see this happening. So I think that's what I'm going to be working on for the next day or two, is grinding all of these off. Because I come down, I check the fire, and I work for 10 minutes, and I go back up to the kids, you know? That's kind of how I do things. So that's what we're going to be doing. So if you don't hear from me for a little bit, that's all I'm doing, is I'm getting rid of all these. I'm going to grind it off right there and grind it off right there. That way it's just tooth and raker like normal. Now another reason I'm going to run into is that this is the slot where the bar adjuster or the chain slack adjuster hits, and it's too far. So I'm going to have to put a spacer in, you know, to bring it back about, I don't know, maybe a 1/2 inch, 3/8 to a 1/2 inch probably. So this bar is meant for a 372, and I'm just gonna have to make a little quick mod here to make it work, you know. This is the only chain I have with the right number of drive links. So, you know, I could put a smaller bar on this all if needed and make a more aggressive chain. I might. I got plenty of 20-inch. Just, you know, 20-inch. It's kind of, you know, I can run a 20-inch bar if needed. So we'll see how that does with this chain, this bar, and go from there. But alrighty, hey, we'll catch you on the next one. Later.